Both chambers of Congress will be in session this week, with the House of Representatives likely voting by midweek on holding Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress for his refusal to turn over subpoenaed audio tapes of President Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur. In a narrowly divided House, do Republicans have the votes to hold Attorney General Garland in contempt? And does this move signify House Republicans will remain on offense against a weaponized Justice Department? Joining me now to discuss this and more, Congressman Scott Perry. He serves on the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee, and the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and was recently appointed to serve on the House Intelligence Committee. He represents the 10th Congressional District of Pennsylvania. Congressman Perry, welcome back to the program. Great to see you.
Well, it's great to be with you, Tony, and we've got a blockbuster week ahead of us. Merrick Garland should be held in contempt, but I think what we don't want to miss here is the fact that I think that this is a diversion from who's really in contempt, and that's President Joe Biden. Let's remember that he claimed executive privilege for the reason that the tapes can't be heard. Your audience needs to know that executive privilege is real. It allows the president to talk to his or her advisors and to talk freely. And we don't want that to change that for President Biden or President Trump or any president. But what it doesn't do is guarantee you some kind of shield from the law. This is claiming executive privilege so that the American people can't see the legal proceedings in the criminal case against President Biden. And so while Merrick Garland is also, he's classified this tape, even though we have the transcript, or allegedly have the transcript, right? And he is in contempt of Congress for that. But this really goes to President Joe Biden's refusal to give to the American people what is theirs.
So you have Merrick Garland basically stonewalling, standing in the way of getting this information that Congress wants that will allow them to do their investigation and hold their hearings into what we call the impeachment inquiry. But you just pointed out that you have the transcript, but they won't release the audio. How can they claim executive privilege over the audio, but not over the transcript?
Well, they actually can't, and they know that all they're doing, Tony, is playing for time. They want this, to go to the courts and be held up till after the election, because I suspect that whatever is on the tape is devastating to the Biden campaign, and so they're using the law to change the trajectory of the election. It's not allowed in any circumstances, but they're begging for forgiveness after completing the act, as opposed to complying with the law up front. And this is a way to just stall.
So the House Rules Committee, Congressman Perry, is scheduled to consider a resolution to hold Garland in contempt tomorrow. What do you expect to take place in the Rules Committee tomorrow?
Well, I think the Rules Committee is going to move that forward to the House for a full vote. I suspect it will be unfortunately a partisan vote. If this were, Trump, a Trump attorney general doing this, you can bet that every single Democrat would vote one way, and there'd be a handful of Republicans would do the same thing. But in this case, all Republicans, I think, will vote to hold Merrick Garland in contempt. He is in contempt. But the Democrats will continue to support the law breaking on their side. They simply just don't care. It's a partisan exercise for them. And as long as what they perceive as helps them win the election, they're happy to break the law if that's the case, or to support somebody that does break the law.
So, Congressman Perry, are you pretty confident that all of the Republicans will vote to hold the Attorney General in contempt?
Well, we have a few seats in our favor now with we just filled the seat in California. So there might be one or two, but I do think that the measure is going to pass and Merrick Garland will be held in contempt. The real question, Tony, is well, there are two. How does this reflect on Joe Biden? Because Joe Biden's really the problem. Merrick Garland is as well, but this really goes to Joe Biden. But the other thing is once we refer the contempt charge to Merrick Garland, he's probably not going to arrest himself. And so what is the House, what are the American people to do with a attorney general who's found in contempt of the law, in contempt of Congress. And the only thing, and I think it's unprecedented, would be for the sergeant at arms at the House's direction to go arrest Merrick Garland and put him in jail in the Capitol. And I don't think we've ever seen that. But if he's going to be held in contempt, that would be the appropriate thing to do to make sure that the punishment fit the contempt charge.
This is quite significant. I mean, this is the Attorney General. Of course, we saw Eric Holder was also held in contempt of Congress back during the Obama administration for something very similar, withholding information from Congress.
Right.
But you have to have this information. So I think this is a very important debate that is taking place, action, even though it may just be on the House side, just as it was with the impeachment of the Homeland Security Secretary, Secretary Mayorkas. In fact, this weekend, I played that clip of him saying, well, it's too early to tell whether or not this executive order is working. Is this executive order simply about election year politics because the administration, the Biden campaign, hemorrhaging support because Americans are concerned about the porous southern border?
It's only about the election, Tony. We passed H.R. 2, the most significant border security bill ever to come out of Congress a year and a half ago. Chuck Schumer and the president don't even acknowledge it exists. If you actually read this executive order, number one is this could have been done on day one. As a matter of fact, they should have could have just left the Trump policies in place. And so they're acting like now, after a year and a half of his inability to do anything, suddenly now he can do something. He had the ability to do it all along. So that's number one. Number two, if you actually read the exceptions, I suspect more, not less, people are going to come to the southern border and now the northern border illegally, and they're not going to do anything about it except claim that they've done something about it. So that's all this is. This is just messaging. There's no teeth to this. More importantly, there's no intention to do anything about it. They just don't want to be held responsible for what they've done. And that's why they've taken this so-called executive action.
Well, again, over the weekend, Mayorkas, I'm going to see if I have a clip of him making the claim that what is needed is Congress to act, that this is what the president's been saying. But they have the same tools. They have the very same tools that President Trump had, and he closed down the border.
That's exactly right. And you can see that President Biden is feigning using the very same tools. And if you look at that interview that you played a clip of just a little bit longer, you will see that Martha Raddatz then says, oh, well, you've been trying to discourage people from coming to the border illegally all along, which is yet another just bold-faced lie from the press, a softball to Secretary Mayorkas, where they have literally for the last 3.5 years been encouraging. President Biden's on record for saying we're going to ask him to surge to the border. My goodness, it's really not. It's not good to lie, and it's really not good to lie to your friends. And in this case, he's lying to his bosses, all the American people who know that that is a lie.
Congressman Perry, just got about 40 seconds left, but congratulations on your appointment to the House Intelligence Committee. You now have oversight of the intelligence gathering agencies, including the CIA and the FBI, but there's been some pushback to you and Congressman Ronnie Jackson joining the committee. Why?
Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Speaker Johnson and the chairman of the committee, Mike Turner. Look, I think Ronnie and I are very interested and anxious to get to work. We want our intelligence agencies to do a great job. We want them to be successful. We want them to thwart our foreign adversaries. That's their job. But Ronnie and I think members of the committee, want to make sure that they stay within the bounds of the Constitution. Now, I've been very vocal about that, and maybe some people on the committee just aren't as vocal about their support of that. But, I think that if they're going to spy on Americans, they should have a warrant. That's what's in our Constitution. And that's going to be what my vote reflects. And I think that concerns some people.
Yeah, and I should point out, Congressman Perry, you're a retired general in the National Guard in Pennsylvania, so you know something about all of this. Congressman, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony. Have a great day. God bless you.